Hello and welcome to today's episode. Today we are going to take a look at Meilisearch, a search engine database written in Rust. So far it is ticking all the right boxes for me and I'm really happy and excited to be exploring it today. To guide me through our Meilisearch journey today, I am joined by two members of the Meilisearch team, Fred and Carolina. Hello and welcome.
Hi, thank you so
Hello.
much.
Thank you both very much for joining me today. I'm very excited. I think we should start with a quick round of introductions and then we'll talk about Meilisearch and what it is.
Okay, so hello everybody, I'm Carolina. I'm Junior Developer Advocate at Meilisearch, and I'm here with my mentor, Fred.
Wow, that is a good intro. So my name is Fred. I'm a director of developer relation at Meilisearch, which means that I mentor Carolina. It's one of it's one of my job. Yeah, but yeah, that's it.
All right, awesome. Well, why don't? All right, I'm good. I've got it. I've got this under control. Okay, so why don't we start off then with what is Meilisearch? Who wants to tackle that?
Okay, well, Meilisearch is an ultra-fast and ultra-relevant search engine built in Rust, and you can communicate to the server through a RESTful API. It's very simple.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, no, I was going to say, it's simple. When we say search engine, it's not like it's not a replacement for Google
Yeah.
or I was going to say Alta Vista. Like, yeah, that is saying my name, my age, but it's not a replacement for those type of search engine. It's really like search engine you're going to use in your web application or website, and the best part of it is that it's open source. But like we like to think that like it's really open source because their way of doing things is not just to put the source code and decide everything. We include the community. We try to be transparent as much as possible for decision or having discussion with the community. So yeah, it's I would say it's the next generation search API.
Awesome. So, I mean, it's open source. If I remember correctly, it's MIT licensed, so it's pretty a very permissive open source project, which is fantastic. I love that it's written in Rust, and you said ultra fast as well. I think all of these things are just what we want, and I'm hoping when we explore it today, we're going to see that it's ultra simple to set up as well. I mean, uh, I'm assuming with it being written in Rust, we're just compiling a binary and throwing it around, right? It's probably there's no runtime needed. There's nothing to set up. But is it really going to be this easy?
Yes.
It should, it should be. It should be. Like you can make it complicated if you want. Like you can use it with Docker. You can compile a source for yourself if you want to. But like if you want to try it quickly, it's just a binary, and you're gonna make it happen. Unless you're not following the instruction and you're really not good, David. But that's a different story.
Yeah, I have been known to skip a few instructions from time to time, and
I'm new to development because I come from another background. I was a teacher, so I didn't code for the past years. It's very recent for me, and I was quite new to code. I was coding for a year or two, and I could install Meilisearch and get it to work very, very easily. So if I can, everybody can, I swear.
yeah, awesome. I think what we'll do then is we're just going to get started. I think we'll pull up the docs. We'll start working through it. We'll see what we can start doing with Meilisearch as we go. Just before we do that, we do have one question and one hello. So Peter says, good afternoon. Hey, Peter. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, Peter.
Hi.
And we have a question from Jared. Is it comparable to Elasticsearch? Is this a question you get a lot?
Yes.
Yeah.
In our documentation, there is a section where we compare. Yes.
So what's it? I mean, we can pull up the docs and take a look at the answer as well. But is there a one-word answer, yes or no here? Is it, do people use this to replace Elasticsearch?
Yes and no.
Yes and
in
no.
the sense it's like it's a little more complicated than just yes and no. In the sense it's like we're not a complete replacement for Elasticsearch, but for people using Elasticsearch for the search function, of Elasticsearch, like strictly it's the part we're quote unquote replacing. So I would say we're closer to a replacement to Algolia than a complete replacement to Elasticsearch.
All right, well, let's just get started then. Hopefully we can answer this question as we go, Jared, and you can make your own decision. It depends, like a classic answer in technology. So
yeah.
Okay, let's see. Let's push the magic button. 3 floating heads, 1 Meilisearch web page. So the next generation search API, open source, blazing fast, hyper relevant search engine. Sounds great to me. Are people using this in production already?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So we have a couple of great users. Right now, the thing is that we don't have like a V1, so we're still really cautious about the version we're putting out there. It's still in development, so people still use this in production. But this year, and I don't have the ATA yet, but we will launch the quote unquote official V1 version, which is going to be like even better than what we have right now, even faster, and taking less resources.
All right, nice. All right, let's get the docs up then. So this is the getting started guide. Is the Elasticsearch question here? Should we pull that up quickly before we start kicking the tires?
Yes, comparison to alternatives.
Thank you. Let me zoom in on that a bit as well. A little bit more readable. Okay. Yeah, there's a whole section there in the documentation. So hopefully that helps the people that are having the same question. I think what you said is spot on from what I've read as well. Elasticsearch does so much beyond just full text search or text search. And most of the time people are using it for that really small use case, but you're bringing in all this other stuff with it. And like having something that's just purpose built to do this kind of thing, I think is really interesting. So
I see sometimes people are using Elasticsearch like you're using a shotgun to cut your vegetables. And I'm like, yeah, so it's good for some use cases, but like more simple use cases, maybe you probably want something that is more adapted to your need and that like do one thing, but do it well. And probably doesn't cost the same amount of money too.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. That's the wrong page. There we go. Getting started. So in order to get this started, I mean, you did mention there's containers and stuff, but I think I'm more than happy just to curl and shell this right into my system. So I'm assuming this is just going to pull down a binary, stick it in my directory. So yeah, I'm not even going to read the docs. I'm just going to run it and see what happens.
That's awesome.
Okay, so a couple of things strike me here. No master key found. What's a master key in this context?
You can go, Karen.
Okay. The master key is to protect the roots. If you want to set it to production, you can set the master key.
Okay, so does this provide some sort of authentication, protections from admin endpoints,
yes.
or search in general? Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which you don't need if you just want to test it.
Yes.
Yeah, makes sense to me. I also see Actix server here. I am trying to be Rust developer these days, and I have banged my head against Actix many times. So one of the things I'm now excited for is that whenever I get stuck and I need to go see an example of how to work with Actix, I'm going to go to the Meilisearch code base. So that's awesome.
Awesome.
Okay. And then this is, I think my DNS is just blocking a call to some analytics. We'll ignore that. So
actually, you make me think like that should be something you I'm looking for the word, but like you accept to like send some stats to be more respectful about people's data. So it just gave me an idea to create an issue for our team. So
oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's always nice to give that as a block telemetry or something like that. And I see we've actually got quite a lot of flags here that I didn't even look at either. So lots of stuff. Okay. Let's get it running again and pop back over to this. So now that this is running, I'm assuming is there a web interface to Meilisearch?
Yes, in development mode.
All right, port 7700. Let's see if it's running. Ta-da. Okay, so I haven't done anything with it yet, so I'm going to assume right now that the UI really isn't going to provide me much value. Is that a fair assumption?
It is. It is. And you know what? Let's be honest. Even when you're going to have data out of the box right now, this is not the most sexy dev portal. The good news is that we just hired a designer. She started actually last week, and she's amazing. So she will give some love to those interfaces that are obviously made by developers.
How big is the Meilisearch team at the moment?
We are 13.
Yeah.
13, nice.
And soon 14.
Okay, so
Yeah, the team's gonna grow pretty fast in the next year. The company is like, it's working well. We're still a small startup beginning, but the product got a lot of traction, so it's going in the right direction.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's just one of these technologies. I think people have been looking for alternatives to search engine and databases for a long time, and I think this fits in and just fills the right gap. So I'm really excited to see what happens. But right now I'm going to try and play with it. So it's kind of just jump straight into this add document stage. So that raises a few questions in my head now. Does Meilisearch have any sort of schema, or is the schema inferred from the data I put into it? Do I define tables? What is the structure of the backend? Like, how do I just interact with documents and nothing else? Do I need to prepare tables, anything like that? Maybe you could help me out there.
No.
So
You don't have to create any tables. You just have indexes with documents, and that's it.
So actually, when you create document, like the structure of the document you're going to create, or if you import data from a JSON file, your structure of the document will be taken from the JSON file or the document on using JSON format that it will create. So if you look at the small code box right there with ID title, so you're going to create document that have those two values, ID title.
Okay, so I'm going to assume that the index that I write to is just part of the URL that I post this data to, and that's probably going to connect the dots there. So
yeah, let's see index. You can see index as like separate database or separate silo of documents.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just. Well, I guess I should save the first thing first rather than skipping ahead. So let's do that. So create a new file. And Superman.
So what you can do also is that right before the code you copy, there is a JSON file that you can download already populated for you. If you yeah, just move it to JSON, so you don't have to, unless you really want to write some JSON, feel free. But the example is probably going to be a little bit sexier if you download that JSON file.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Like I said, I usually just skip all this stuff, so you'll need to keep me right. So movies.json.
Actually, I think it's pointing on the GitHub page, so
it's
not sure if you're going to have access. Yeah, we should put a rolling.
Raw.
I like that. I'm just taking notes and being like, we should do better. It's perfect.
All right, let's try that again then. So show movies.json, drop in the raw link. Yeah, there we go. And now we just want to issue this curl command, which is going to populate our database with this. So
yeah, and what you can see with that comment is that if you read the documentation, you're going to see that by importing those documents using that REST API endpoint, you are automatically creating an index called movies. But if you want, you can, if you check the documentation, you can create an index by yourself, and after that, have documents. So in the case that that index does not exist, Meilisearch will create it by default.
all right, well, I'll keep it as movies for now because I'm sure I'll be copy and pasting more example code and I'll forget to change it. So I'll just leave it as is for now. Now I'm curious if I just pop over here then and hit refresh. We have movies now. Cool. Let's see. Got to search for the matrix.
It may be still
No, you don't
updating.
have document yet. Yes, check the update ID status.
So this does this tell
So
me
if you go
this-
back, no, if you go back, the best way to do that is like if you go back to the other terminal you use,
Oh yeah.
probably in VS Code, I think. Yeah, you're gonna see a return you an update ID, and with that update ID, it's because like the importation is async, so it would probably be done by now, I guess, depending on the speed of your computer. But like if you want to check the status, you can do this by calling the proper API endpoint.
It's get indexes movies updates and then the number of the update ID, I think.
Okay. So indexes, movies,
updates, and then 0. Yes.
Cool. Let's put this through a GQ.
Processed.
Yeah, so we've just imported 19,554 movies. All right.
So now you see its process. So if you refresh,
Yes.
Now the matrix. There we go. That one doesn't exist. Oh well, okay. That's just my dig at the second matrix, but I'll save that for another time. So, I know it was so subtle even to myself. I felt I had to explain it, but it's all right. So now we have a really fast way to search for movies in a database of around 20,000, and it does seem quick. I like it. So let's see what else the documentation is going to run through. Is there anything you just want to highlight, point out before we jump back to the docs? Like, is there anything?
Try to search for matrix, but by making a mistake. Like search for, I don't know, matrix or matrix. So this is a feature I like. I call it Fred proof because I do mistakes all the time. And you know, this is how search works. You know, you go and Google search. I don't even fix my search query when I go and Google search because I'm like, oh, I made a mistake, but it's faster to like push enter and just select what Google proposed me after. So it's a little bit like that where like it's typo tolerant.
Yeah, I do that all the time on my phone as well, where I'm typing and I notice the mistake and I think I'm just going to go and hit and like Google will fix it, and it usually does. Okay, so yeah, I can typo whatever I want here, and I'm just testing how much of a mistake I can make. So, all right, cool.
Yeah, you need to be like close. You cannot go crazy with your mistakes either. But yeah.
Okay, the movie with that guy that I like in it.
Oh, I think you nearly got your answer. I think what was the movie you just shown before? Oh. Yeah. 12 Days of Christmas. It's your preferred movie. Yeah?
Well, I've never seen it, but I think that's definitely going to have to be tonight's viewing. A Christmas movie in February, definitely. So,
or a Christmas romantic comedy. That's promising.
Yeah, it just seems to have matched each of those words that I've typed with the overview of the film, which makes sense. Like, this is coming back. In fact, I've got a few two choices. There we go. Okay, let's see what else we can do. So we actually, we've already covered checking updates as well. So we don't need to do that. And we can do a search via the API, which I'm assuming is going to just be very similar to what we got back through the web interface. But let's just run it anyway. So. Nice. Cool. All right, let's see. So we've got the web interface, we've had a quick play with that too, and then we can integrate it with our project, and we've already made our $1 million thing, and we can move on. Perfect.
Exactly. This is the sample, like Hello World type of example. But after, now you get a server working with Meilisearch and get access to the API, but you probably want to integrate it within your project. And this is what I really love, because our integration team done like an amazing job. So if you want to integrate it yourself and just use the API and create the code yourself, like good for you, you can do it. But if you check on the sidebar on officials SDK and libraries, the third links on the top of the, you click there and you're going to see a list of the actual integration we have. So, if you are building something in PHP, again, you can just do your HTTP request and call the API, or you can use the SDK and just use easy function to do the implementation.
Yeah, that's pretty well covered support there. I'll skip the Java one, but Golang and JavaScript, PHP, Ruby, Rust. I mean, I think that's pretty much every language that I'm going to be working with these days anyway. So it's nice to see that support is just there out of the box. Are those all officially maintained by the Meilisearch team?
Yeah. And actually, it's there is other integration. So we have a team, that work full time on integrations. So more front end tools are coming, more frameworks are coming. We're really taking that's just going to make people's life easy. So we put a lot of effort in that.
Yeah. And there's also front end tools. You can, I use React a fair bit, so it looks like there's a way to just drop that in with React components, Angular, Vue. I'm not sure what instant search is, but it sounds fancy. So, and we have Kubernetes deployment manifest as well. Is this a Helm chart? A Helm chart. There we go.
Yeah.
Is Meilisearch horizontally scalable, or do I just run one of them? What is the deployment architecture there?
Yeah, right now it's not. We are working on making it easier horizontally scaling, because right now there's no what's the word when shading?
Sharding?
Sharding, yeah. Close enough. So there's no way to do sharding right now, but it's something we're going to work on, because in production that's going to be important to be able to use it like that.
Yeah, but I guess it's also written in Rust, fully asynchronous through the actor framework, so I can imagine it's pretty fast and scales terribly well just vertically, never mind horizontally. But it's nice to know.
It is. Actually, the thing that are taking most of the resources is when you import document. So it's taking a lot of memories to import documents, but I would say it's the biggest. Unless you tell me, Capo, I'm wrong, but I think it's the biggest usage of resources. And even for that, right now, what you see when you try Meilisearch right now is the actual version we have, but our developers are working on the V2 of the engine, so strictly the engine part. And if you think Meilisearch is fast now, you've seen nothing. So I should release a video soon enough, I hope, of just showcasing how much Meilisearch is even faster right now, because now we're not going to talk about something like 100,000 document. We're going to talk about 1 million, 2 million document, and that's going to be faster than the experience we have right now. So it's just awesome. But now, obviously, you have to believe me because you cannot see it. But it's coming in the pipeline really, really soon.
Well, you seem quite trustworthy, so I'll believe you. Also,
you should not trust me.
While I pulled up this Helm chart values file, I actually see this in an environment variable that looks like it disables the analytics as well. So Meili no analytics true. There you go. So
I did not even know that.
Yeah. All right, so I'm curious about the, I've not really done anything yet, and I'm getting a whole lot back from Meilisearch. I've just imported data, and I could imagine doing this for my application where I start throwing loads of documents into the index and then just using it as a search endpoint. Is everything indexed by default for me, or do I have to tweak the schema in some way to tell it how to index and which matchers to apply? How much configuration do I have when I work with Meilisearch?
Well, do you can customize what you want to be indexed, what you want to be searchable, the attributes you want to want to set as searchable, you can, like, there is a bunch of things you can customize. Like, it's ultra relevant out of the box, but you can change a lot of things. Like, if you want, here the relevancy is set by the first document indexed. For instance, a word found in the title will be more important, considered as more important than a word found in the overview, for instance. But if you want to change this behavior, you can. You can, in the settings, you have a lot of things you can customize.
Does that mean there's a curl request I can send to kind of understand that schema just now? Like, will it print it out for me?
Yeah, you can all the options you can change is like you can have a list of associated word of synonyms, because like we can treat synonyms and you define those synonyms yourself. You can have a list of stop words, like as an example, you've seen like your really long example trying to make your product look bad, David. You've seen, I'm joking, you've seen like all the I don't know what's the word in English, but like those small words that are in between, like the, of, by, those words that you probably don't want them to be part of your search query. So those are called stop words. You can define them. As Caro said, like the ranking rules. And there's a couple of things you can do. In the documentation, you can see those if you go in, I think it's in reference. In the API reference, there is a section called settings. So if you go at the top level, click reference, API reference.
Settings,
but you can see all of them there. And if you want to see how use the API to change them, you can check in the API reference. There's also a section called settings.
Oh yeah.
So you were asking how to get the list. So you can use like the index/settings. Yeah, okay, you got it.
Yeah, let's take a look. So the curl request to movies settings. And we get back to this. Okay, so we've got ranking rules. Don't know what that means yet. Distinct attributes, searchable attributes, display attributes. All right, okay. So we've got a fair amount of customization here. I'm going to guess what some of this means, and then you can tell me whether I'm wrong or whether I'm right. I'm going to skip the ranking rules and just let both of you handle that in a moment, because I'm not sure. But the searchable attributes, I think I can maybe work that one out. So, if I maybe wanted to store people I meet at conferences in Meilisearch, I may want to be able to search for them by name or company or Twitter handle, but probably not by email address. I wouldn't want to expose that. I'm assuming by searchable attributes, I can just say only allow searching on these certain fields. That's my guess.
That's right.
And displayed attributes, is this what, if I pull down, say I search movies for the matrix, the displayed attributes will be the only ones that are returned for each of those. Do we call them records in Meilisearch, or rows, documents?
Documents.
Okay. And then I'm assuming the displayed attributes are what's sent by default. I'm not sure if I could tweak that. The stop words, I think Fred's already kind of covered that a moment ago. Synonyms, I'm assuming if I want to call the matrix or translate it to other languages, would I use synonyms there? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I'll leave attributes for faceting up to you. So if you just want to tell me what ranking rules and attributes for faceting are, I would love that.
Okay. Ranking rules are the rules that define the relevance of the search results. So it's a bucket sort. Like first, it's by the results are showed by increasing number of typos. There is also the like my English is not here at the moment. The proximity of the words you search is not the same to search, for instance, I love rock and I love something and rock. So the results are going to show in that particular order. The word position, it's the attributes, that is related with the searchable attributes, this thing I mentioned earlier. Like the order of the first document is in which attributes appear in the first document. It's important. Something that appears in the title, it's not the same as a word that appears in the overview, because the title appears first in the first document. And do you want to help me, Fred?
Yeah, which one you have left?
Which position and exactness?
Yeah, so word position is like it's the result are sorted by the position of the query word in the attributes. So if you go, you can even see example of that. If you go into documentation and like the learn core, I know right now it's a little bit all over the place because we talk about different topics, but like if you click on learn, I think it's in core concept, relevancy, and if you check ranking row. So maybe like something more visual is going to be easier. If you scroll down until you go to example, so you're going to see like, there. So you're going to see like each, go up a little bit. Each tab, they show you example of like those different rules. So like if you go to word position, you're going to see like if you search for Belgium, like Gangsta is going to happen. It's going to happen before Dunkirk because Belgium appear sooner in the attribute. So it's really like to say like, hey, if the word position is more important to you, like you would have a title. Like if you put this as one of the more important rule for your search. So as an example, if there is a movie that is Matrix. Column how the movie was done, like the documentary on Matrix. So if you put word position as one of the main attribute for your search, that title, that movie will come first before the Matrix, because like Matrix, the word is before the Matrix. Does it make sense what you just said?
Yeah, so based on what you've just described there, I'm assuming if I search for Christmas, movies that have Christmas in the title will show up before movies that mention Christmas in their overview. Yeah, so Christmas in the title, Christmas in the title.
Yeah, so that's two things. Like Christmas in the title is because we didn't set any ranking rule or like in terms of the. What, do you want to say something, Cal?
Because the attribute title is more important than the attribute overview. But let's say we are just searching, only the overview is searchable. So if Christmas is the first word in the overview, it will appear first in your search result than if it's the last or it's in the middle.
Right.
And because why title is more important right now is because we didn't set the rules ourselves, so we go with the default rules. And because we go with the default rules, it means that it will take the importance of the different attributes will be in the order that they are in each document. So in each JSON object. So you're going to have like title's going to be more important, after that poster, after that overview, after that release date, after that genre.
Yes. It's the first document, huh?
Yep.
So when I search for Disney, I get something that has Disney as a title. Then I get something that has Disney as the first word in the overview. First word in overview, first word in over. All right, there's a few, and then second word. Okay, that's starting to make sense now. I think I understand that. And I'm assuming if I just pick another random word like Donald, that should spring up to the top. Yeah, there we go. Cool. That makes sense. Got it. Now, there was one more thing, the attributes for faceting.
Okay, facets are like categories in which you can search. So let's say you, in the movie example, you have the genre, you say that in English, genre of the movie, and you can just, it's a strange word for me to say, sorry. So you can just search in the comedy type movies or the romantic movies, etc. You can set categories to search in.
Awesome. So I'm going to throw an idea out there then, and let's tell me if we can do this in a timely amount of fashion. Yeah. Now, our schema here is just a default because all we did was import movies.json. But what I'm thinking is, and let me test a hypothesis here, is that this will return that movie. Yeah. Now, I'd probably never want to search by the poster URL. So what I'm thinking is, could we modify the searchable attributes to omit the poster and add in the genre as the faceted search to make it a little bit more sophisticated?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
can do it.
Is that part of the getting started guide and I've just like made it up, or no?
No. Actually, there's going to be. Let me be sure we have an example for that. Distinct attribute, no, searchable attribute. So if you go in reference, in settings, and searchable attributes.
Yeah.
So feature reference. Yep. Settings, and you have.
There is also a search bar. The search bar of our documentation works.
Oh yeah, actually, search is really good in the documentation because we're using a software called Meilisearch. It's so good. It's working so well.
I was actually just about to ask if you used Meilisearch for the search on the doc, so I'm glad you said that you do. All right, so
we're dog fooding.
So this reference page in the documentation is working against the same movie set. So I'm actually not really going to have to change too much here, right? Like I could just like drop this in, and that's going to give us title, description, and genre as a search. I think we need to change that to overview instead of description. Is that right?
Yes.
And go. And then I can do my update command. Where was that? Updates 1, which I would expect just to see. Oh well, maybe not. No, maybe it won't be done as quickly as I thought. Because does this have to rebuild the indices on the index?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
Let's find out.
Do you know, Carol?
I know it's much better to set the settings before indexing the documents, but
yeah, but I assume the data will still be there. It will be just not searchable because if you change your setting at some point, like the document is still there. Yeah.
Well, we've achieved our first objective, which is I'm now dropping in the poster URL and it's not returning anything. So I'm calling that a win. Fred's calling that a win too by the looks of it. So, all right. Objective 2 is there a special operator for faceted search? Like, can I do an action or do I just type, like, how would I do a faceted search where I only want action movies?
I don't know if you can do it from this web interface. I don't know if it's so.
Oh, but we could do it from a curl, I guess, right?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to test out your docs now. So, faceted search. And see if I can find me a wee curl command. Oh, okay. So first we have to update the thing. That makes sense. Let's take off director. I don't think we have that in our data set.
Not sure.
All right. And that seems happy. I just like running the status of my update. Let's go. Someone has answered our question on whether the indices have to be rebuilt with a yes. I'm assuming they maybe have some knowledge here. I'm not sure. Dictomy? Do we know that person? Nope.
It may be my boss because he's using a different username everywhere he goes, so I never know if it's him. Do you know if it's Tommy? If it's Thomas?
I don't know.
Or maybe it's my tech writer.
Yes, Tommy.
Or it could just be a random YouTuber who's like, sure, whatever, yes, like, yeah, trust me. All right.
That's good. And you know what? this is something I like, because like I'm totally fine with having like users that know more than me, because like that means that they're using it and like it's perfect.
Yeah, 99.9.5% of all users know more than me, so I'm quite comfortable with that now.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've added our attributes for faceting. Now we want to do a search returning only the genre that I want. Someone else has commented saying, I think it is Madden Postma. So
Okay, yeah. This guy I know is one of the developer on Core. It's one of our developers. So thanks, Marin, for using your real name, so we know it's you.
Oh, and there you go. You got a wave. Hi.
Oh, I think Nico to me is probably our tech writer.
Nice. Well, thank you for helping out. Okay, so we've got a curl request here now. And this is doing a search against our movies databases. We've added genres as a faceted filter. We're passing in thriller as the query. We don't have a director in our data set, I don't think, so I'm just going to remove that. So we're searching for, let me see if I've got this right. We're filtering on where the genre is horror or mystery, and thriller exists in the title or the overview. Is that what we expect here?
Yes.
Maybe?
Yes.
All right. And let's see if we can confirm that.
Jiku is your friend.
It is. So we got the genre match. Now, do we have a thriller? Yeah, and thriller in the overview. Worked exactly like we thought it was going to work. That's really cool. I mean, I've got to say, see, when we can just throw together some really trivial JSON and apply it to change the way the software works, I'm always really happy. Like, I don't have to dig around and work stuff out. I think the UX, DX, the intuitive works rather than having to have pre-existing knowledge always amazes me. I think that's great.
That's one of the goals we had when, we build a platform to, as you saw, like to work out of the box. So you don't need to change your setting. Obviously, you probably want to at some point to like give better results to your users, but you don't have to, and you can already try it and see how it's worked really easily. So there's something like there's some what's the word in English, like is snobbish a word in English, or some let's say pretentious people that are like, hey, software should be complicated to be powerful, and I'm totally like, after all these years of software development on my side, I'm like, no, like the simpler you make it, the better it is for the users, even if users are a developer and they know how to use those tools, but be sure that they can configure it, and they can do like more sophisticated or more complicated things. But when you look at Meilisearch, it seems like, yeah, it's simple. Like there's not a lot of much work done, but believe me, there's a lot of work behind the scene to make it that easy. But I think it's one of the strong point of using Meilisearch too. Like, you don't need to be an expert. Like, if you know how to do HTTP requests and use a framework, or just use curl even to test it, like, how to use the software.
Cool. Awesome. And you are right, snobbish or snobby is another perfectly term.
Okay.
Pretentious.
Awesome. Yeah, because English is not my first language too, so sometimes I speak French and sometimes I use French word and I say them with an English accent, hoping that it's a real word.
Yeah. I speak Scots English, but I do my best not to inflict the Scottish on people. So it gets me into trouble.
You have no accent, by the way. I was expecting like a strong Scottish accent.
No. I keep that for the weekend. But no, I've got my work voice that just it keeps things easier. Anyway, cool. Let's do a couple more things, and then I'll let us get back to our days. One of the things I'm thinking of here is we have the genres, right? Let me search for, science fiction. Do we also have, push the wrong button. I'm not very good with computers. There we go. But we don't have sci-fi. Like, now, maybe I'm pushing something that's not going to work here, but I'm thinking, do we have synonym support for faceted search as well?
No.
I
Maybe. No, we're not sure.
actually have no idea, to be honest.
Shall we try it and see what happens?
Yes.
All right.
Why not?
Let's break things.
All right. So I'm going to use your search is really good on this. I've got to tell you. I'm going to add this to my blog, which has got 3 articles in it over 10 years, but still. Okay, so we can add a synonym. Where's my curl request? I'm sure it's in. Oh, it's not in here. Oh, let's try another page. Settings synonyms. There we go. Yeah, I'm going to try and add a synonym for science fiction to sci-fi. Hey, John. I mean, I appreciate the vote of confidence, but I'm definitely winging it. So, okay. Let's see. No, I don't want to add a sweater jumper, but I do appreciate that example. I'm going to add science fiction. And we'll add sci-fi, and sci-fi, the weird TV version too. That look okay?
So, yeah, good.
Now I just need to make sure I update the right index.
Yes, I was going to say that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we're getting loads of waves today. Hi, Thomas. We're getting away from Thomas too. Okay.
Oh, so Thomas is my boss, and the other Tommy, I check with him, and he is the tech writer, the other Tommy, and I've just been told that it won't work, but let's try it.
Oh well.
Let's try it. That's fine.
All right. Well, we got our update ID. I won't bother looking that up. I'm gonna. Okay, here's a question. I have this movies.json that we've been working with. If I were to then change this sci-fi and then reapply that document over the top, am I going to end up with 2 copies of Captain Marvel, or will it know and update that record?
If you keep the same ID, that's going to be replaced.
Yes.
All right, and I'm going to change this to the weird sci-fi. Okay. We're getting a wave from Sangam too. Hey man, how's it going?
Hey,
people are
Sangam.
chatty today. It's nice. Obviously, everyone's here to learn about Meilisearch. So, I've forgotten what I was doing, so we should just chat. Oh, the movies. There we go.
Yeah. The genre.
So it was this one, the post request to index movies documents, pass it into JSON. And that, I'm assuming that maybe it's updating in the background, so we can do the update and we also have a question that we can tackle too. John asks, does this run on stable Rust or nightly Rust?
Stable.
Stable, awesome. Even better. Okay, moment of truth. The thing that we already been told isn't going to work, but I'm going to try and make it. The actual channel showed up. Well. That was a nice idea. So the synonyms work within the text search, but not on the faceted level.
Perfect.
And I guess that's probably to be expected. You suspected that as well.
But you know what, David? If you really want this to be added to Meilisearch, I would suggest you to either do a PR or worst case, and submit an idea, create an issue,
the roadmap.
But I certainly see you because you know Rust and you like it. I'm pretty sure you're good to do a PR.
Oh yeah, definitely. I just need to go pop out for 5 minutes. So. No, I would definitely love to explore the code base. I think I will be doing that at some point. But now that I'm even thinking about it out loud, like, would we want synonyms on a facet? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe, but I'll think about it.
But
No, okay. All right, let's try and cover one more thing before we finish up for today then. Is there anything that either of you have you're particularly partial to that you'd like to show off, or should I just pick something at random again out of my random head?
Tell, do you have something? Yeah, go random. Let's have fun.
yes.
All right. So what's a distinct attribute? Let's see.
Oh,
Like, oh, you shouldn't have chosen that,
no.
or oh, that's going to be interesting.
Oh, it's interesting, but you can't showcase that with this data set. It's just like for when you have a document with, for instance, it's more for e-commerce. Like you have a jacket, it's the same jacket, and you have in white and in black. And you want, when you search for that jacket, you want just one document to be returned.
Right.
Do you understand? You don't,
yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. So if I've got, like, I assume, say we had in our database, and I don't know why we would have this, but I'm going to try and stick to the movies example anyway. Like if we had different variations of each movie for the format it was released, like, you know, VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, we'd maybe use a distinct attribute there that when I search for the matrix, you don't return 4 of them. You just say, hey, there's one, and then there's other variations of it. Is that right?
Yes.
You can see, like, if you scroll up just a little bit, you can see the example of, like, you have a JSON where, like, it's the 2 same product, but in that case, as Carol said, the only difference is the color. So we're going to say, like, if you set up the distinct attribute being like product ID, right after you have like that curl like code, if you scroll down just a little bit, you're going to set up like the distinct attribute to product ID, because this is like what's going to be distinct between those 2 products. When you're going to search for it, you're just going to get like the letter jacket.
Okay, and what would the search result look like on that? Like, I'm getting 1 back. Does it give me any indication of which variations exist, or are they omitted from the results, or does it just pick the first one that it finds and return that?
We don't have an example on that. We should. PR issue.
Well, let's find out. Like, why not? Hold on. Let's see. What's our first movie? I'm going to copy and paste Shazam. And then we can use the ID. Is the ID a Meilisearch special thing, or is that just part of the dataset ID?
You need the ID. Each document must have a unique identifier.
All right.
So
Actually,
for the distinct attribute,
default,
you should choose another one, because you can't have the same.
So I'm going to apply this dataset over the top, and we'll say that there's also a Shazam, which is an action, and there's one that's a fantasy, because, you know, this is contrived, so I'm just going to make this work. We now have 2 Shazams with different IDs, and then I'm going to apply a distinct setting update to this index to do title, and then we'll see what happens.
And, you know, just to come back to the ID, by default, Meilisearch will use as your like document unique ID any like the first attribute that's going to have the word ID, or like the 2 label ID, no matter if it's like UID or like this is my ID, or it's also case sensitive. It's non-case sensitive, but you can also define what's going to be your unique ID if you want to.
Okay, cool. So I can, if I want to, I can say use something else as a unique ID.
Yeah.
All right, we're now in a situation where I'm pretty sure I've applied a distinct attribute. In fact, I'm really curious now to see what our, if I just pull out these settings now and take a look at it, what we have. I'll change this to get request. So we set our attributes for faceting, we added some synonyms, we've got our searchable stuff, and we have our distinct attribute set now. Okay, so in theory, if I should be able to see this through the web interface, right? Shazam. I only got 1. Yeah, so it looks like it's just picked one of them and returned it. But I guess we could always confirm that.
Yes.
It's the case. It's going to return only the first one. That's like with the example Carol said in e-commerce. It's probably because you want, you know, when you go on Amazon and you have like different size of the bottle, like you just return 1 bottle, and when you click on it, now you get like all the information on your product. So I assume it's for those kind of use cases. I'm not sure when you would like to use that setting, not in that type of scenario.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. I'll stop trying to do weird and random things now, I promise.
No, actually, it's fine. It's what I love, and it's also why I'm happy Caro is there, because she's way more brilliant than me. So,
all right. Well, why don't? So anyone that's watching, please feel free, if you've got any questions, drop them into the YouTube. We're going to be finishing shortly, so we'll handle any questions we can before we do. Why don't we talk a little bit about the operational side then of Meilisearch? I think we've covered a really good what it is, what it does. We've kicked the tires on a few of these settings. We've worked with the API. Everything really just does what I expect, which I think is fantastic. Now I'm at this stage where I'm like, okay, I played with it, I've kicked it, I like it, I want to ship it into production. Like, let's assume I'm throwing it onto Kubernetes with that Helm chart and it does its thing. What about backup and restore? Is that something that's relatively easy to put together if something were to go wrong?
Yep.
Can you repeat, please, because I didn't understand you.
Yeah, so now I've got Meilisearch in production, and I'm curious, I want to be able to build out backup and restore processes. So what would that look like to make sure that I never lose data?
You can search for snapshots or dump. There's two ways to kind of like get your data. So creating a dump will. Oh, do you want to go, Carol?
No, it's just a dump is now the database is not compatible between versions, but when you create a dump, you can change from versions without problems. And snapshots you have to use the same version for now.
So I'm going to throw out my naive understanding of that. Please feel free to correct me.
Please go.
Now, when you talk about dumps, I'm assuming that I'm actually just getting a JSON representation of all the objects, which can be imported wherever, and the indexing is performed again when I import it. I'm assuming the snapshot is actually like a database representation of all of those documents that can be migrated to another copy of that database.
Yeah, exactly. And right now, for people that are listening, we suggest that when you move from one version to the next version of Meilisearch right now, you probably want to use the dumps, because we're not at V1, so we're still making some breaking changes. So it's probably the easiest way to go if you want to be sure you're going to retrieve your data. Starting from V1, we're going to be really careful when we're going to introduce new breaking changes. But right now, we still consider that like there's still a lot of good things to do with the product. So we're not totally good citizen when it comes to breaking change right now.
Is Meilisearch embeddable, or is can I only run it as its own binary? Do we know?
Say that again, sorry.
Can I embed, like, is it exposed as like a Rust crate that I can embed into my own application and not have to run it separately, or is it always expected to be run as its own process?
I don't think so. I think it's expected that you run it as an external application, so as a service. That's a good question, actually, and to be honest, I have no idea because I don't know Rust at all. But maybe I can get the answer before the end of the.
All right. Well, we have a couple of questions from John in the audience, so let's throw them out just now. His first question is, does Meilisearch, or does Meili mean anything?
Yes. It's the Nordic god of oblivion, according to an historian. So that's why maybe you need a search engine to look for the things you forgot.
Ah, nice.
It is brilliant, though. I was not part. You would think that I was part of the decision. I was not there because it's brilliant. But yeah, I really like the idea. The thing is that what we've seen is people struggle to say the name sometimes. So yeah, that's not a thing. Just to go back to the unbendable question I asked Marin, and he said basically, no, it's not unbendable. So I was not wrong, but it was just an assumption. I had no idea.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if it's a completely valid use case for this kind of thing, but I guess it's always something that I think is interesting. Because databases are difficult, but okay, let's go back to another question from John. He's asked, when is V1 planned?
Good question. So, yeah, actually, I don't even know what I could say right now. I said we were like really open with the process, but until V1, we kept some of the stuff a little more secret. Actually, we're in the process of hiring a PM that will really help us to have like a better roadmap, and we're going to make that roadmap public. But let's say that it should be around Q3. So we're going to have like alpha and even alpha and beta that's going to be available before. Right now, we're assuming that around Q3, we're going to have the V1. The only thing that people need to understand also is that it's not because we're not a V1 that you cannot use it in production. Like we have a lot of like, let's say customers that are using the product in production. So it's working right now. It's just that we want to be sure that we're going to give an even better experience with, as an example, with the new engine, and that we're going to be sure that like the structure of our endpoint and everything is like quote unquote set in stone for like a V1. But it's coming faster than we think, and seriously, I'm really excited about that. I started to work the quote unquote marketing plan, if I can say, like what we're going to share on Twitter and those kind of things. I'm like I can't wait. I guess the developer find me a little bit annoying because I'm trying to like move earlier when we're going to release the version. So because I want people to use it as fast as possible. And like people that may not be confident in Meilisearch because we don't have like an official stable version. So I want to be sure that you can use it right now, but I want to have a V1 for that exact reasons.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to summarize that in my own little way now, so I think it's really clear in my head. But what you've said there is it is production ready to use. People should be using it. It's fantastic. However, you may need to do a dump and re-import your data because the underlying database format may change before V1. Is it safe to assume are the APIs relatively stable? Like if I start building against them, am I going to be okay for V1?
Yeah, relatively. So yeah, because again, we're kind of like making us assumption with we're, how can I say that? We're making ourselves some caution when it comes to that. So I would say it's mostly stable, but maybe things can change before V1. But we've been running, we've been dog fooding, and actually, I didn't see a lot of change when it comes to the API. So I think we're pretty solid. I just want to like put a little asterisk that may change, but no. Anyhow, you get the gist of what I want to say. Yeah.
All right. Well, it sounds to me like people should be checking it out. If you need search across any of your applications, Meilisearch is definitely ticking a lot of these boxes. All right. I think we've covered a lot. We've really shown off the product. We've seen how it works. We've done a few things that we probably weren't supposed to do, but fortunately most of it worked, so that was really cool. Do you have any final remarks before we finish up for today?
I mean, you know what? Like, try it. See if it's good for you, because it may not be the software for you. But one of the things is that we would like your feedback, either positive or constructive feedback. And we have a pretty awesome community too. So obviously, I would say Capital right now is answering most of the support question we have, but also in terms of like the Meilisearch employee. But we have an awesome community. So join us on our Slack community, or we also use GitHub discussion, and it's just nice to get the feedback and see where that's going.
All right. Well, thank you both very much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to play with Meilisearch and be guided by you both, answering all those questions. I hope people will like what they see, they check it out, and open loads of issues and PRs and help you push towards that V1. So again, thank you. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you all soon.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.